Warzone approaches the 1-week-old mark tomorrow, and it's no surprise the mode is already off to the races as the free-to-play installment into the COD franchise, eclipsing 15 million players in the first 3 days of play, and likely far surpassing that now in double that time since. But the nice part about Warzone is that it looks to keep on racing with new updates, adjustments, content, and the likes as an installment that can hopefully keep up with the best of them. Today I want to talk to you guys about some huge changes we have on deck, some coming very soon, some coming later on down the line as we'll see for ourselves progressing through the coming weeks and months. That said, as we go along, if you could add one thing or change one thing in Warzone, what would it be and why? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Warzone and all things Modern Warfare, especially if you're part of that nearly 64% of viewers who are not subscribed to stay up to date with absolutely all of it. But let's jump into it. Firstly, let's set some guidelines though for the focus of this video, the kind of sub-pockets that we'll discuss here with this. Let's talk firstly about the bigger things that are confirmed to be coming and with next update, some things after that that are mentioned to be in the works, and then some things that are a little further reaching in the updates that maybe won't happen as of next update. They could, but probably won't, but will be further down the line in the long run of things. Firstly, one thing that we know is going to be coming with next update, in particular the next title update, is that of kill credit being awarded to players who downed the player, not who cleans up the kill. And that's one thing that I am incredibly excited about. From the pre-release content that we got out in Infinity Ward a couple of weeks back, that was one of the biggest discussions we all had with the developers, that was something that definitely needed to be changed, and it seemed like it was something that they wanted to get for launch, to get it out in that build, but it just missed. So it's already adjusted in the back end and is just waiting for the next title update to go out. So that's something we can all look forward to. Nobody has to then steal your kills by thirsting it. You get that if you down the player, which is brilliant. Another thing that's going to be changing is that of the contextual tap option in Plunder in particular. Now, what's awesome is the contextual tap obviously speeds up the looting process incredibly fast if you do have it set to tap and not hold, but the downside is the fact that if you play Plunder, if you use one of the remote balloons to deposit your cash and not go to those hot zones of where the helos are, you actually can't use that function at all if you have tap enabled. It just doesn't respond to the balloon, and therefore you waste the balloon, which is something that is relatively harder to come by in the grand scheme of loot that you can find. This was mentioned to have a fix isolated and is something that should be coming with the next update as well, so it doesn't matter if you have tap or hold, you'll be able to interact with those balloons and the functionality they provide all the same. Now, realistically, in terms of the next title update, that's the bigger stuff that we know of for sure. Stuff that is likely coming with it, but is mentioned still to be in the works. We don't have any ETA on this next title update, but we do know about a couple of these things that we can talk about. Firstly, better indicators or some sort of heads up for teammates and passengers in vehicles if a rocket is inbound. It showcases currently to the driver, but is not something that showcases to all players as well as it should, so it will give them an advanced heads up that if they need to dip out of something, they can. Additionally, other mechanics for the gas mask are being discussed at the moment. Joe Seacott said they could definitely do better with the animations about how they pull it off and put it on whenever you're automatically placed into the gas. That's an awesome feature that it will automatically apply and you don't have to manually use it, but the only downside is that it takes you away from any ADS you may have, so it automatically requires you to hip fire, which in some situations can definitely be life or death in late game. But Joe Seacott mentioned this and he said that it's kind of an interesting place they're at with it. They want to add more functionality to it, but they're out of buttons they can use, so they'll have to work something around there with that one. But I also would imagine this may extend to different functionality with the parachute whenever you have the gas mask on as well, because I've heard plenty of discussion about how the gas mask, when equipped, you actually can't use your parachute, which is the weirdest thing to me. I mean, granted, I don't play around in the gas all that much to really test for myself or to really think this is a problem, because it's not one for me, but I can understand where if you need to get off a roof and the gas is closing in, if you automatically place on your gas mask, you're not gonna be able to get down. So hopefully that is something that's fixed out as well. Better final circles was also discussed as well from Joe Seacott and some of the community discussion that we saw over on Twitter, in which players discussed some of their bad spawns for the final circle, some dealing with locations like Stadium where it would close in, but the only accessible part about Stadium is the roof and there's no way up there. Also, things that have happened to, say, me and my squad even, is that there's been times where the final zone will close on the top and the bottom of dam, and therefore there's no way up organically. You have to go on one of the two mountainsides on the left or right side of it. There's no way directly up to it. There's no staircases either, so if you're trapped at the bottom, you're just done for. So things like those could definitely be worked out so that they don't come into those situations where players are absolutely hopeless and have no chance at winning, but that's stuff that was mentioned as well. There was discussion about a bug with armor plates and a lack of being able to use them, where at some point, I don't know the exact situation of them, but players would be entering back into the game and unable to use fresh armor plates that they've found. So obviously a problem, because armor is everything in this game. And the last thing I'd expect to be changed out with the next update is a bug that currently persists that it looks like it's something that if you go in and then out of a revive too quick, this will happen. I don't know if that's actually the case, but watching back the footage of the clip that I had on hand, it seems like that may have been what caused it. But players sometimes will get a bug where their weapon is kind of stuck in a non-combat stance. From there, you can't really do anything. You can't ADS, you can't shoot, you can't loot items to my knowledge, and so it renders you essentially useless. This happened to me and my squad, primarily my friend Lazy, in a final 10 situation. Luckily, we clutched up and we were able to pull it out, but it's definitely something you don't want to see happen. So I'd imagine that gets fixed out as well. But let's talk about some stuff that is likely more so further down the line. Maybe it happens with the next update, maybe it doesn't, but that being the introduction of different ways to play. Solos, duos, and quads, and even upwards of 5-man parties have been mentioned as well. Now, this is a big one, and I would imagine that if we see this, we may see it break down into two possibilities. One, all of these come, and with the amount of players on hand, because it is free to play, you can play any of those, or they'll kind of do the rotation, which I hope they don't, like they do with Modern Warfare with LTMs, where you have solos for a week or two, you have duos for a week or two, you have quads for a week or two, and then you have 5-man squads as well for a week or two. But regardless, they have been mentioned as coming. The big thing though is they wanted to ship with trios, because that was one way that they knew would work in player count and also in how the mode played. So adding in those other variables and how things will shift with the meta, they wanted to make sure they had a stable product before shipping anything else out to drastically change everything up, which I understand. I also don't understand at the same time. It's just one of those things that happened, but those will be coming as well. And further down the line, I'm talking probably a couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe more months at that point, into the life cycle of Warzone and how it carries on throughout the next year or so. Do we see seasons? Maybe, but I expect to see a couple of things. Firstly, new points of interest, player count increases, and live updates. Now, talking about these, we already know for a fact 2 of these are already scheduled to have some adjustments to them. Firstly, player counts. In an interview with USA Today, studio head Pat Kelly at Infinity Ward said, "We brought a number of twists to Battle Royale. I do think the world you play in is going to be undeniably unique. For one thing, we are initially rolling out with 150 players when you're typically used to seeing 60 to maybe 100. Actually, I can tell you we are already playing with 200 players, and we're going to release that a little bit later." Now, there is no ETA on this, but this actually echoes something that we discussed a little bit pre-launch and even actually with developers at the capture session that we had a couple of weeks back. If you want to go based off of leaks, it seems like 200 was always the intended player count, but was something that, from what we're told, was due to scaling and things like that. 150 was the safer bet, so increasing it to 200 is inevitable and is something that will likely increase the pace of play, but is also something we don't have, again, any ETA for when that may happen. Could happen with the next update. It could happen a month or two down the line. We just don't have enough information on hand yet. Another really cool thing that I think would be awesome to see, especially if it lives up to the expectations people may have when they think about the term live events and live updates, will be something happening with the world of Warzone. Brian Bede, Executive Vice President and General Manager for Call of Duty at Activision, said, "The teams at Infinity Ward and Raven Software have created an amazing free-to-play experience that's accessible to all to jump into right away and have a blast. There's a ton of content planned and live events to come that will continue to keep fans guessing and ready to experience new thrills." Now, this could be absolutely anything, and my first immediate guess here with this deals with actually the Easter eggs around the map, with the bunkers, with the phones, with the laptops, because there are so many of those right now that have seemingly no real outcome. So while I am definitely still on that personal hunt to try and understand where this may go, what this may lead to currently, there's definitely a thought in the back of my mind that thinks, you know what, this might not be something that's even ready yet. Maybe the trigger for this said major and global Easter egg around the entire world of Spec Ops and Warzone maybe it's just not in the game yet, and it's something that's going to be a part of a live event. Maybe something that ends the Season 2 Warzone map. One theory that I've heard, which I think would be really cool, is that a nuke goes off, and so for Season 2, say theoretically, it ends by a nuke dropping, so players have to go into the bunker. That'd be pretty cool to see, and of course, especially if that happens real time, well, that'd be incredible, especially, again, given the scale of everything. But the final thing I want to talk about, which is likely going to happen, but probably won't for quite some time, is that of new points of interest. Now, new points of interest are something that we aren't necessarily used to, but it's not the only time we've ever seen it. We saw Hijacked as well as then Ghost Town and Blackout added with last year's Battle Royale map, but that was the only introductions we saw here with this. When you take a look at the map, there is so much area on the outside that could definitely be filled in with extra points of interest. It's just a matter of extending those boundaries, or they could even do some stuff because there is some dead space in some of those areas, but we'll see how that all works out. But likely to keep the game fresh, to keep the map and the world fresh, we'll likely see some of that at some point. We just don't have any ETA. That's probably the most speculative out of anything we've discussed here with that, but I would expect that to happen as well. One thing that I do want to close the discussion out though is potentially the frequency of said updates. We normally see updates in Modern Warfare follow a 2-week pattern, it seems like. That is by far way more frequently than any other Call of Duty game we've seen updated, but the interesting part is that Warzone is still technically labeled as being in beta, which in a developmental perspective has been something that for the last couple of years has been kind of, I don't want to say exploited, but used to the advantage of developers to allow them to consistently update their game without having to go through major first-party approval, having to go through Sony, having to go through Microsoft, and of course Activision owns Blizzard.net, so their PC client is all their own, but being in beta will allow for more frequent updates, so we may see some stuff happen maybe even weekly if we're lucky enough. So that's the kind of stuff that Fortnite has done for quite some time now that's still technically labeled as beta and is something that they update still relatively frequently, or they did. I haven't really paid attention to it. I think that actually may be wrong with Season 2. I do remember hearing that there weren't many updates as of recently, but you get the picture here with that. It was frequently updated before because of that beta tag. But that said, that's where I'm gonna wrap this discussion here with this. I wanted to keep you guys in the loop on everything and expect changing here in the near future, but also in the distant future as well as we see the year progress. So I'm incredibly excited for the potential here that we have within Modern Warfare and Warzone. I'm very excited for where this could lead, but time will tell and we'll see what happens in that time. So we'll see what happens as we go along. But that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Anything in particular you guys, again, want to see added, changed, whatever it may be in Warzone, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I can live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. Minus Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.